is appropriate for the area. There's discussion tonight about the golden factors, which your staff has given you a report on tonight about some of the factors you must consider. The character of the neighborhood, the effect on nearby properties. That's just so you go outside the property boundary. You have to look at the character of the neighborhood, the effect on nearby properties, and what your community development plan says about development in the area. Your staff, your plan commission, consider those factors heavily, analyze those, and overwhelmingly have opposed this application. What land use is not, this is what land use is not. It is not about the applicant's financial needs. It's not about how much money they could make if only you let them drill on this property. I would make a lot more money too if I went to my city council and said, hey, let me drill for oil in my backyard. And I get laughed out of that room because that's not proper land use. That's not a proper use of my property in that area. I live in a residential area. It's not about how safely they can operate. It's not about we're going to hire the best people and we're going to follow all the rules and regulations. That's not what land use is about. It's not even relevant. Can I build a home on property that at one point used to have oil fields on it? Yeah, probably I can. I could build a shopping mall on property that used to have oil things too. Doesn't mean it's the right use. I can build a golf course on what used to be, a garbage dump. You can do all those things, but that's not what proper land use is. Just because you can do something doesn't mean it's appropriate land use to put these things in this area. And frankly, it's not just about them. This application will curtail, if not outright eliminate, the possibility for a long period of time of future development in this area. No one in their right mind is going to invest in and develop property right next to an oil field. Now, you put a lot of this infrastructure in place, ball fields, parks, infrastructure, schools have gone there, precisely to attract this kind of development. And it's a shame that things haven't taken off quite as fast as you all would like. But this is going to push things off even further, and we ask you to continue to uphold the Planning Commission's recommendation and reject this application tonight. I appreciate your time very much. I'm sorry, I would stand for any questions.
Actually, I did have a question.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
A couple of questions. First of all, the Roadside Partners property.
Yes.
Is that located within the Gardner city limits?
It is not.
It is in county
It is outside the city limits at this time.
The second question I had was, are there plugged and abandoned wells on the Roadside Partners?
To my understanding, there is one plugged abandoned well that happened at the time when my clients acquired the property back in 2006, 2007. There's not an active well there, and as my clients have owned it, there has not been active operation on the property, as my client advises me.
Okay. I did have one last follow-up, and that is the property directly to the south of your client's property.
Yes.
Has a significant oil presence. There's a lot of drilling going on.
That's what I understand.
Do you feel that that is also a potential inhibitor to growth?
I don't think it's a good thing. I mean, we would not want to see any expansion of that. This body wouldn't have the power, because that is also in the county as well. But it's that's the property, it's the way it was when my clients came to the property. So they've had to deal with that property there. They would certainly hope that that use would not expand, and I'm sure would send me to the meetings to try to see that didn't happen either.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff?
Brian, I've got one very quick question in regards to the infrastructure. I know we hear often when we have infrastructure that's not used to capacity, it actually is a detriment to the life cycle of that equipment at times, when you actually don't use it to what it's meant to be. It's the same thing with the infrastructure we put in place for this portion of land. Is the pieces that we put in place, do they actually lose a little bit of their life cycle because of the non-use?
From the lift station, yes. I mean, that stuff has been sitting since 2008. We go down there every week and turn the pumps.
Yeah.
But they're not being used like they're supposed to be. But the pipes that are in the ground, the gravity main, the force main,
But the
they're
lift
fine.
station itself, by not using it, we've actually
Right.
shortened the life cycle of when it's time for it to be used.
Yeah, I would believe that is correct.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
I have more of not really as much a question for staff as it is an interrogatory for the council members here and the governing body. We understand that there is a, that there is some concern about the oil drilling aspect that has been expressed by both staff and the planning commission. My question is, has to do with a precedent that might be set with a decision to deny. More accurately, the issue that might arise when we attempt to annex property directly adjacent to this parcel. Some that might already have active wells or plugged wells on that property, but more accurately, the active wells. My concern is more the, we can't control that right now, but if they already have active wells on that property and they get annexed and want to add additional wells to property that's already got wells on it, is that, how would we as a body manage that? And that's just a question I've got. It's really more of a rhetorical question, but I think it's one that needs to be considered in this discussion.
Christie, you have one?
I guess from my perspective, we denied and approved conditional use permits multiple times. One of them was the car lot, which was denied and denied rezoning. So we've set precedent. I mean, if you want to call it set precedent, because I don't think it is. I think that's why we have a conditional use permit application process, is so that you can look at each thing on a case-by-case basis. So, I mean, from my perspective, that's not a concern or an issue.
My feeling about it is that the property owners should have the right to do what they would like with their property. However, the city has made an investment here. We've been petitioned by the property owner to make an investment there. They asked us to do it. We did it. They tied us up in court. They failed to mention in Mr. Gilchrist's presentation, he keeps talking about the wastewater treatment plant, which is a very good wastewater treatment plant as far as wastewater treatment plants go. But he keeps failing to mention that Celebration Park's directly across the street from it as well. But we made an investment for residential development. We've hung our hat that that's what's going to go there. And a conditional use permit flies in the face of people that have come and served before us and had to come to agreements with these folks to make improvements on their property.
Can I ask you another question? I understand we've made investments at the petition of the applicant. However, part of this is them trying to pay the benefit district and be able to pay for those investments. I mean, it's not like we're just, I mean, that's what they're coming and saying, listen, I need to be able to do this to pay for these investments. So it's not like they're saying, let's put those by the wayside and get out of them. I mean, so to me, that's, there were a lot of investments made from about 2004 to 2008. So we had a lot of benefit districts that were late and not paid. This happened to be one of them, but the applicant is trying to generate revenue to be able to pay for it. They're not asking for anything for free.
Well, and there again, I understand that, but a 20-year conditional use permit, I mean, that could take the investment that was made and turn it on its head. And trust me when I tell you, I've made bad investments before. I've made investments that ended up losing money. I mean, pretty much anybody that's in the audience probably had a 401k that took a hit in 2008. They speculated on the property, and sometimes it doesn't work out the way that you were anticipating. But they had good faith effort on the part of the city, and we planned not just previously, but going forward. I mean, we are still pretty much planning on residential development out that way. So, anyone else?